Hey friends, hope everyone's doing well. I want to take you on a little bit of a journey. Recently I picked up this amplifier. Some might recognize it and others might not. It is a Musical Fidelity P180A integrated amplifier and a 10th anniversary special edition. So this is quite a special amplifier. It was a revered amplifier back in its day. But this one had a little bit of a rough life. And this is what this whole video is about. I want to take you on a journey where I go through the steps I take to give an amplifier like this a new lease on life. Because it certainly, I think it deserves it. It can be the center point in a great system somewhere again. Maybe it stays with me, maybe it finds a new home, who knows. If it stays with me, it's going to be in good company, because there's a couple of other nice amplifiers that I've saved over the years and that I enjoy very much. But yeah. Chrome faceplates. Musical Fidelity was at one stage very popular for their chrome-faced amplifiers or equipment. And then gold-plated control knobs. This one over here, on-off switch. Oh, you would also notice that this amplifier is, oh dear, oops, stand bump. This amplifier is rather shallow. For its supposed, let's see now, about 90 watts per channel. Okay, but yeah, on-off switch, we'll get to this in a bit, because there's something about this. You'll also notice there's two cables coming out the back of this amplifier. You'll note, I'll show that to you just now. Then this is the volume knob, power indicator, an input selector. It's got 6 inputs, line level inputs. Okay, so I've already proceeded to take the screws out the top, but let's lift the top off. You'll notice there's some rust and oxidation on the top cover. That's normal, this amplifier. But I'm not quite sure where it lived. It might have lived in some coastal setting that caused the surface rust and oxidization. So, what are we going to find? Ooh, wow. Inside, this is so typical Musical Fidelity. And there's speculation. It's going to be difficult to prove, but maybe also not too difficult by doing a bit of research, that this amplifier is a Tim de Parvicini design, because it is reminiscent of the A1 and the B200 and the A100 and the lineage of amplifiers. This is also... I've got a Musical Fidelity Tempest amplifier and the Typhoon power amplifiers. I don't have a Typhoon, I had a Typhoon in the past, where those amplifiers featured isolated output devices, each output device on its own little heatsink. So you don't have a massive heatsink where all the transistors bolt to. Each transistor, these are not little, are on their own heatsink. So that's a bit of an interesting point, simply because you don't have a thermal tracking transistor that corrects any thermal drift or bias errors that might occur. But okay, getting back to this, you would notice that this amplifier is severely dirty. Severely dirty. This is probably one of the most dirtiest amplifiers that I've had in recent years. I once had a QSC that spent its life in a club, and where the fan sucked in huge amounts of cigarette ash through the face of the amplifier into the inside. It was basically filled with cigarette ash on the inside. But yeah, this amplifier is quite filthy on the inside. But this makes it. This is why I'm excited about this amplifier, because this allows me to make this video, bumping the stand again, to make this video, to make it interesting, to show you a couple of things I do, and yeah, to take you on a journey with me. Okay, just quickly a background. When I went to the person that sold this, he already rigged the amplifier with a CD player and a speaker, and he allowed me to test it. So I tested, there was only one speaker, tested the left channel that was playing, but when I moved the speaker to the right channel, I found it was dead. And I don't know if you can see in this video at the moment, but there's a resistor here that is clearly taken some strain. And these resistors, Musical Fidelity, they're quite famous for this, and this is a thing Nelson Pass also does. It's a resistor that sits at the very beginning of the power rails. Here's one, and there's another one there. And if I rotate the amplifier, maybe like that, you'll see the one here, another one there, and there's another one, and there's one. This is one channel, the left channel, and that's the right channel. Or I might have it the wrong way around, doesn't matter for now. But the DC lines come in over these resistors. I think they're 0.47 ohm, so very low resistance value, resistors high wattage. And then they each in turn are connected to a pair of 10,000 microfarad capacitors. So you get a little bit of an RC filtering thing going on there, because I just need to get back to these cables. This amplifier's got an external power supply. In the power supply, obviously there's a transformer, toroid type, that feeds into a bridge rectifier, and that in turn feeds into a pair of also I think 10,000 microfarad reservoir caps, and that feeds into this line, and this comes in here. So the C of the CRC filter arrangement, the one third is in the power supply, and an external box. Then we have the R, the resistor here, and then again C here, capacitor here. So you've got a little bit of a rudimentary filtering going on, not just smoothing out ripple. Okay, what else can I tell you? Got an input selection board over there that feeds into an Alps blue velvet potentiometer there, and from there it goes to the two power amplifier stages. So basically this is a power amplifier with input selection and volume control, typical of Musical Fidelity, of the vintage Musical Fidelity stuff. And that's why I like Musical Fidelity, for that reason. It's very plain and simple, so a very short signal path. And also note they've put the input selector switch on the input selector PC board, and with an extension rod to the control knob at the front, so you keep the signal path very short. There's been a slight modification that's been brought on to this amplifier, where the output from the volume control gets fed to a pair of RCAs here at the back, and I want to assume that's either to go to another power amplifier or to a subwoofer or anything else where you need the volume level to go to move in situ if you adjust the volume on this amplifier. Okay, another bit of a detail is, if I can just clean one of those off and one of those, we have these lovely sought after and highly respected Hitachi J50 and K135 lateral fit output devices. 5 J50s and 5 K135s per channel. So this makes for very stout, low output impedance amplifier that will certainly have the capability to drive almost any loudspeaker that might be considered a difficult load. And yeah, just really good loudspeaker control from such an arrangement. You've got your source resistors by each transistor or FET, field effect transistor, with a central, I've already checked at the bottom, I'll flip it over just now. There's a central speaker plane, copper plane running in the middle on the underside of the PC board, where the drains connect to obviously go to the speaker. So yeah, lovely stout arrangement there. The input section is, let's see if we can get it over like that. At the moment it's very dirty, so I'm not even quite sure what's going on there, but we've got an op amp there. That's a LM318N, and I'm not quite sure how this is configured yet. It might be an op amp that's driving a also typical of Music Fidelity, a differential intermediate stage or VAS stage or whatever you want to call it, that eventually drives the output FETs. I love this type of arrangement. If it is this arrangement, I still need to see where I can find the schematic of this specific model, if there is a schematic available. Okay, but let's flip it. Let's flip it over. Right, so we've got the amplifier flipped over. I've already undone the screws. Is that the correct word? Correct phrase? So let's see what we find. Ooh, beautiful full plane PC board. Well, an interesting thing I want to show you, a little bit of forensic inspection, is that you'll notice that we've got the dust has produced some thermal trails here. So this means that this amplifier got this filthy whilst it was in use, because you've got lots of dust thermal trails everywhere. There's a beautiful little pattern there. I hope it's visible on the camera. Oh yes, it is. There you go. And over there, so this amplifier does run relatively hot to produce such an updraft of air through the amplifier by its own. Okay, getting back to the underside of the amplifier and the amplifier PC board. Again, here's each transistor isolated on its own. Dip, 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 dip. Here's the central plane, copper plane that runs to the speaker leads, red and blue, left and right. This is the VAS stage, voltage amplification stage. There's the input stage, some kind of input stage. But now we'll be able to see, because on the speaker plane, there's a track running to what I will assume is a resistor sitting over there. There's some kind, I want to assume that's a capacitor, because the lead pitch tells me that cannot be anything else than a capacitor. So this is the feedback network, and this will give a good idea of how this op amp interacts with the rest of this amplifier. But I'll be able to get to that much more clearer after I've washed this amplifier. So the plan for me also is to take you on a journey of how I wash an amplifier. I want to give you a couple of people sheer heart attack because I've got a unique way of washing and cleaning an amplifier. There's some other people also doing it. I freak a lot of my friends out when I send them pictures or mention it to them. But it's a process that works for me. I don't subscribe to using an earbud and IPA to just rub every little spot on the amplifier until it's clean. Don't have time for that. My time's valuable, precious, so I use a quick method that can freak some people out. But yeah, here we have some ground lines, beautiful solid ground lines. There's some ground hatching going on there, and then a line feeding that back to the ground plane here. It couples those reservoir caps over there nicely together into the power supply lines. Lovely, lovely. And what else? Got a bit of a floating PC board here. So they've just merely included some plastic, little plastic feet that you buy off the shelf to just support the PC board. You got to admire Music Fidelity for, at one stage, the amplifiers were slightly roughly built. It didn't faze them that the amplifiers were built like on the fringe of, yeah, why put in 2 screws when one is enough? As opposed to some big American amplifier brands where you had 24 screws holding the top cover on. So yeah, you got to admire Music Fidelity for this approach. But that certainly didn't break down the sound quality of the amplifiers. I'm very sure that this amplifier will be a thoroughly enjoyable amplifier. Now, like I said, I've tested the one channel. The other one was dead. But I did, before I made this video, I did use my bench power supply to test the other channel. And I'm happy to announce that the other channel is fully working. So what has happened is in the external power supply, the one channel, the one side of the rectifier bridge failed, and that caused the one rail to drop away. So you only had, I think it's the positive rail that's present on this one channel, but luckily there's no DC offset on the speaker line. So thank you for that. Yeah, feel free to ask any questions, and like and subscribe to my channel, and share this video with your friends. Thank you. Bye.